everyone. We're back with another issue of Let's Find Out. My name's Rick Yasayan, and we are with the California Rare Fruit Growers. So right now, give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and give us a heart. We really appreciate it. We're going to be meeting with Steve Berger. This is his home, and we're going to go take a look in just a minute. So again, welcome, and this is Steve Berger, and this is a beautiful young avocado. What do we got here?
It's a Hass avocado,
okay,
planted about 7-8 years ago, and my intent is to keep it under 8 feet tall, make it easier to get the fruit. And as you can see, it's
you've got lots of fruit here.
Yeah. So you
Wow.
don't have to have a 30-40 foot tree. You can get by with a 8 to 10 foot tree and get probably just as much fruit.
So what have you done? You've lobbed it.
I give it a haircut every year.
Okay.
And I've allowed it to get wide, lateral branches.
Right.
And but I do know, living here on the front yard here on the street here, that people will come by and take avocados, and I'm just hoping that the ones on the inside they don't see, and those that we'll be able to get.
If it's not people, it's birds.
It's animals,
So, yeah.
Rats and so forth. But still, I get about 80% of all the avocados.
Oh, that's great.
I had one year, not one was missing. We got them all.
We're going to talk about what he does to help the soil a little bit later. So this is great.
Well, principle number one, the first thing is leave everything on the ground, all the leaves, branches, and then add a little more. Always keep a good layer of mulch. As I understand, the roots send up little like root fibers, and they extract from the mulch above them. So that's rule number one. Number two, I put coffee grounds. I go to a beer company, and we get spent beer grains, which is wheat, barley, and hops. Throw that down here. Anything I can get. Anything organic, I put in here.
That's great.
Even steer manure, I'll use that every so often.
So Steve, we're standing in front, I can see, of a feijoa, but this is a rather unusual variety. What is this?
This is called Apollo, and
Okay.
the story behind this is about 7 years ago. We had a speaker, his name was Glenn Woodmansee, who spoke to the Orange County chapter about feijoas. That he had gone to New Zealand, got special varieties, the best in the world, what he told us about, brought them back here, grafted them onto seedlings, and then allowed the trees to grow, sold some of them to our members. And after my listening to his lecture, I went ahead and got a feijoa from one of our members, took the seeds out, planted them in little 4-inch pots, and after about 1.5 years, 2 years, they were about 8-9 inches tall. I then grafted this variety called Apollo, onto them, and one of those is this tree right here, which is now about 6 years that's been in the ground. And about 3 years ago, I started getting feijoas, and the great thing about this fruit is that it's ripe when it hits the ground, so you don't have to guess as to when to pick it.
So, like all the feijoas, the petals are edible.
Yes.
And have you had any of these? I see this is almost all the petals are gone, and I think I may be getting almost the last pair here.
Well, help yourself.
And
you tell me.
So here we go. So these petals are at the end of the flowering time, and what you want to do is get them when they're right at the beginning, when they're nice and plump and juicy. This one's kind of flattened out and dried out a bit, and they get a little bit bitter. So when you do eat them and put them into salads, they're wonderful. They have a wonderful flavor, but they need to be a little puffed out at the end of their season, which this tree, it's finished the flowering, it's ready to start producing the fruit. They get a little dried. so and a little bitter.
And
so,
I've had some. They actually have a cinnamon taste to it.
oh, really? On the
Yes.
Apollo?
Not an Apollo. No, some
On
other
ones,
Feijoas,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Delicious, though. You're going to get a lot of fruit on this. I have the feeling. Beautiful. Okay, so what are we looking at here, Steve?
Okay, just want to check on the variety Arabica
Yeah.
coffee. I got all. By the way, I have all my plants labeled with markers here. You can see that the coffee beans are getting to the ripe stage when they turn red.
Just about. Okay. I'm going to taste this one.
Fine. Yes.
So around the coffee seed itself, and whoops, there's two of these. I just dropped the other one. There it is. So around the coffee bean itself is kind of a sweet juice, and it's on the inside of the skin of it, and it's sweet, it's good, but I think the coffee's even better. We'll find out probably another day. So Steve, it looks like we have here a holding area for some of your plants, is that correct?
That's correct. New plants that I get that I don't have room for in my backyard to plant, I just leave them here in 15-gallon pots and see how good the fruit is. And if the fruit is better than what I've got in the backyard, I'll make that decision to replace an existing tree. But I've got a lot of, you can see here, I've got a lot of pitayas, different varieties. This one right here, the flower opened up about 2 days ago. I didn't have any other flower that opened up at the time, so I did was I took pollen from itself, from its stamens, and just touched the stigma with it. And then over here I marked the letter S to show that I use its own pollen. So, you know, self.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
and you got another one here, just about ready to go.
He's going to open up tonight. So what I need to do is right about 7 o'clock at night tonight, which is an hour before sundown, I'll come out here and I'll start pollinating those flowers that are open. And I might have some more. We'll see. We'll see here in a few minutes.
So Steve, we're looking at one of my favorite plants, which is miracle fruit.
Correct.
Okay, and you've done something rather unusual. You've got it looks like a tomato cage, and then you put another type of plastic around this, and this is
plastic fencing that you'll find
to keep what?
Well, keep the birds out.
Keep the birds out, and then when you're ready to pick the fruit, I love this feature. Look at this. Just cut a hole in there.
Grab right in there and take the fruit.
Grab out the fruit. So we've talked about miracle fruit on prior episodes, but here's a rather clever way to keep the birds away from it. Wonderful. So Steve, we're looking at some type of stone fruit here. It's not quite a plum, but what is this?
This is called a Nectar Plum.
Oh, okay.
Spice Z Nectar Plum, the only variety in Nectar Plum. It was developed at Dave Wilson Nursery.
Yep.
And I don't know what the percentage is of nectarine and plum, but they worked on this for, I understand, like 20 years in developing it. And from what I've had, the fruit from last year and the year before, I would say that this is the best tasting stone fruit there is.
Wow.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
It's got an overwhelming flavor.
Beautiful fruit, nice, good size.
The most important thing with a tree is in the springtime is to make sure you do plenty of thinning. Taking out, I start at the bud level, taking off the buds. When the flowers are there, if they're within 4 inches of each other, I'll remove one, and you can see the development of the fruit as a result. And the truth is, you don't need 1,000 fruit on a tree. Getting 80 or 100 is going to meet your needs. It's healthier for the tree, and it's better tasting fruit.
And bigger.
And bigger,
and bigger, yeah.
Very good.
So we're standing in front of a beautiful banana. This is a very tall banana. What have we got here, Steve?
This banana is called Monfan.
Oh, this is your Monfan.
M-
Steve's famous for the Monfan.
Monthan.
Yep.
Years ago, I got this plant about 20 years ago. I called our expert one day on bananas and asked him what he thought was the best tasting banana. And I said, I want a large banana, good tasting, something a little more hardy for the elements, you know, than other banana plants. And he said, Monfan. And I said, what? And he said, Monfan. He says, hands down, this is the best banana I've ever had. So I got one from him. I drove all the way down to San Diego and got it. And I agree with him. It's been the best tasting banana I've ever had. And I've used it for both cooking and just dessert eating banana.
One of the nice things that Steve does at our club meetings, when this comes into a fruiting season, he'll bring some of these to the club meetings and share them with the members, and they are wonderful. They really are wonderful. Looks like a citrus. What is this, Steve?
This is a gold nugget mandarin or tangerine. About 14 years ago, I was at the Festival of Fruit out in Riverside, the Inland Empire, and there was a tasting table with about, maybe about 120, 125 different citrus. So I was going along tasting one after another, and nothing special until I came to this guy, and lo and behold, he was just by far superior in flavor than any other citrus I ever had. So I made a determination I was going to get a tree. I did have one, but I did have to take it out, and I planted this about 2 years ago to replace it.
And what's the name of it?
Gold Nugget.
Gold Nugget. I love how it comes out of the skin so easily, and oh, just a wonderful aroma.
Toss it.
So let's see how this tastes. Juicy,
flavorful.
sweet, a little hint of cinnamon.
Maybe, but
a little.
But it permeates your mouth.
Yeah. Oh, delicious.
Yeah.
Nice and juicy, easy to get out of the skin. Wonderful fruit. Good idea. Keep that handy.
This is also a semi-dwarf tree. I didn't get the full tree. You know, I'm limited in my space, and in many respects, a semi-dwarf will get as much produce as a full-grown tree, full standard tree.
Now, we've been asked, but one of the things when we get to taste this that hasn't been on camera is our cameraman does get a chance to taste this. So Kevin, you get one too. And John, you also.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we are standing in front of what looks like an orange tree. What type of orange have we got
This
here?
is called Cara.
Okay.
As I understand, it's a sport from the Washington Navel that was found in Venezuela. Cuttings were brought over here, propagated over here, or grafted onto rootstock. And I came about it by listening to a radio station one morning, a gardening program, and the host kept talking about this Cara being the best orange he's ever had. So I had to get a tree.
Right.
And this is it.
And this is it.
And
Are these ripe?
Yeah, they're ripe.
Can we
And you
pull
can take
one?
one?
That's-
Yes, go right ahead.
Well, let's, okay, this one's sitting right here. Let's pull that one off. So it has the typical Valencia style to it. A juice orange. And the surprise, of course, for those that have never tried the Cara is going to be the color inside. You want to tell us about that?
Well, I think it's just normal color, orange. It's not
Is it?
the red. It's not
Oh,
a
it's
blood
not.
type.
Oh, it's not. I
Not
was
a blood, no.
expecting a little more of a pinkish color
No.
to it.
Well, actually,
Beautiful.
from what I understand, living near the coast here, we're about 3.5 miles from the coast.
Right.
The blood oranges do not really materialize in a red color.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we just don't get
Okay.
enough heat here.
Yeah, ones I've had a little pinkish
Yeah.
hue to it. A little more. Oh boy.
You can see it's juicy.
It is juicy. I'm going to hand you that one, and I'm going to give it a taste test. Wow. Lots of juice on that thing.
It is good, but it's not as good as the Gold Nugget. Gold Nugget has more flavor to it.
Yeah. This particular one might stand a little bit more on the tree, but delicious.
Yeah, and again,
delicious.
Because we're near the coast, we're not going to get the full flavor here.
Right. Very good. So Steve, we've got a whole bunch of these beautiful pomegranates around here, and I know you have quite a collection.
Yeah.
Can you maybe tell us what different varieties you've got?
Sure. Well, this one that's right in front of us is called Ink, I-N-K. I picked it because year after year, from 2009, 10, 11, 12, it kept getting high ratings in the Wolfskill pomegranate tasting tests, and never got #1 spot, but always number 2, 3, or 4. So I figured there's something special about this tree, so I got it. But I have on my property 6 pomegranate trees, and such as way back there is one called Kazaki, and I've got on the other side over here Parfianka, and another one called Salavatsky, and another one that Edgar Valdivia recommended, Zadi. So
a lot of the Russian ones, aren't they?
Yeah. And so again, 6 trees, but on some of my trees, I've got 7 or 8 grafts onto the tree. I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but it's got about 6 or 7 main branches, and each branch I have tagged. Can't see that? So anyway, the secret to grafting pomegranate trees is to graft onto the sucker, not onto an existing branch. The sucker is where all the energy is at, and you'll get a better take with your grafts. Good point. Good point. Thank you. Okay, well, this is not your grandkids' jungle gym. What have we got here, Steve? Well, I do use the name Jungle Gym. It's a Pitahaya Jungle Gym.
Okay.
This is an 1.5" PVC Schedule 40. I came up with the design just thinking about one day, and I wanted to be able to get inside here to get the lateral branches that may have fruit, and get something strong enough to withhold the weight. And
wow,
you know, different designs can be made. But,
wow, yeah, this will hold a lot of weight.
Now inside here, for the most part, I have the yellow Pitahaya,
right,
which is called the Megalanthus, and unfortunately, it's not a very hardy plant. So when the temperature gets down to about 34 degrees, they start dying. So I have to replace them, but I'm also been putting in a few others now, you know, the regular Pitahayas,
the red ones, and so on
and so forth.
These Megalanthas, for those of you that may not know, are the sweetest of all.
I think it has the highest bricks of all of them.
Highest brick rating, and just delicious. They're from
Venezuela,
Ecuador, and Peru, and that
Venezuela,
part of
I think
Venezuela. Yeah, that's where I've found them. Delicious fruit, just delicious. And what a very clever way to use PVC pipe to help support something like this.
Again, 1.5" would be the minimum that I would use.
And you've got inroads and outroads and all around. You can pick from all sides.
Yeah.
Beautiful design. So one of the cautions on this Megalanthus is that they are indeed covered with thorns, as well as the plants themselves also have spines on them. But oh my goodness, that looks delicious. Delicious. So are we gonna get to try this right now?
Absolutely.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna get out my trusty.
It peels. You can use
your hand.
It peels
off. and you can just cut a little chunk out, open that up, and here we go. Oh, sweet. A little touch of just very nice sour to it, but it's sweet, mostly sweet, crispy, wonderful aroma. Oh my.
Well,
This bet you can't take one bite, you know.
just a couple cautions. Again, it has thorns on the fruit itself. So what I do is when I go ahead and cut them off, I'll hold it with the tongs, holding the tongs onto the fruit, and then I'll have a shoe brush with me and brush off all the thorns, and they'll come off as it gets ready for picking here. So it's easy done, but you have to spend about a minute giving it a shoe shine, almost like. The other thing is the flowers on this, the flower had developed back in October, November. So this was really a fruit that came over the winter, and I picked this about a week ago. So it does take about 6 months, which is a little bit of a drawback, but
worth it.
Worth it. You're going to still get the fruit.
Worth the wait. And I believe your son makes something really nice.
Yeah, my son
out of
took
this.
these and he made a wine, and he got 3rd place over at the Orange County Fairgrounds. First time he ever entered the contest, and they were really very pleased with it.
So what are these, Steve? These look very much like something I've eaten before.
Well, this is the Pinkerton Avocado.
Okay.
It's an older variety, but it's, again, probably in the top 4 flavor-wise for avocados.
Right.
The only little drawback on this is that it takes 14 to 16 days to soften after it's been picked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason,
so
twice as long as
put them on the sink.
Right.
Okay. Does an apple in a bag help them?
It could. Yes. The ethylene gas. Certainly.
Wow. Beautiful.
So,
nice size.
Healthy tree.
Yeah. You've got lots of fruit on this tree. It's not overly large, certainly not overly tall. It's big, but it's not overly tall.
Yeah, and I haven't pruned this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's one of my next jobs.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so Steve, we've got obviously onions along here, and yes. I see you put them into these buckets. These are some of the onions that we get every year, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm using 15-gallon pots.
Beautiful. Just what a great use of this small space. And on this side, I'm going to let you explain. We've got all kinds of pitahayas here. What have we got?
Okay, what we got here are 8 different varieties of pitahaya, and sort of an experimental area here to see which are the best tasting and which are not very good tasting or just average. And those that are below the best, I will be taking them out and replacing them with new varieties I've been getting. So still have every night, like I say, I have to come out here at 7 o'clock and pollinate the open flowers. And now again, I mark whether I got it from another variety or I got it from itself. If you look closely, I don't know if you can get the camera here, at the trellis here, but these are heavier duty tomato cages. And again, 15-gallon pots, and as long as I keep it somewhat balanced, they're fine. You know, they do weigh a lot of, they do pick up a lot of weight with the branches here. But anyway, it's an easy way of growing pitahayas, and you can see how much space I've got here.
So we're looking here at some stone fruit, but I see a whole lot of tags. So tell me about this, Steve.
Okay, well, first of all, this is a peach tree. It's called Early Grande, and it's not a very well known one, but the person recommended the tree to me, has about 20 different peach trees, and she said this has been their best producer, best tasting, best producer. So I went and got one about 2 years ago, but since then I have grafted on a few other varieties of stone fruit. In this case here, this is a variety called Peachy Keen, and this one here is Cotton Candy Aphrium. And then I've got a Babcock on it, and I've got a few others. All three trees have grafts on them. And anyway, this planting area here is about 10-12 feet long, so I've got them about 5 feet apart, and so I have to prune them every year to keep them from interacting with each other or rubbing up against each other. So
may I point out your tags?
yeah.
These are interesting. These are aluminum, and I wonder where that came from.
Well, it was from a Coke can, or sometimes I'll use a beer can.
Yep.
And the plastic tie you can get at Home Depot.
Right.
Just use a punch.
Very nice,
punch,
inexpensive.
and
way
they don't
to do
rust,
it.
and they don't wear out.
And you write
So,
on it in a ballpoint
yeah,
pen.
well, I use a scratch-all type of a instrument.
It's great. Great idea. So we have here one of the biggest one of these that I've ever seen, but only because I have a, I've not been around. So tell us what this is.
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Aru. Now there are other pronunciations for it, maybe even different names, but I planted this about 2 years ago, and it's just been a slow grower, but well, maybe a little bit moderate grower. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is my first time I've ever had it. As I understand it, it's related to the mangosteen. Mangosteen we would have no chance of growing over here or developing fruit, but we're going to see if we get some fruit off of this.
It's a Garcinia.
Yes.
It's in the Garcinia family, and this is as big as I've seen personally. Wow. Good luck on this. No flowers yet,
no,
correct?
but you can see new growth.
New growth on it, yeah, on all
right
the
now.
ends, all the tips. Beautiful, beautiful. So, you know, hang in there, everyone. You know, if you've got one, good luck. This is not the easiest thing to grow. All of the Garcinias, or pretty much all of them, are delicious fruit. So take a look into that type of fruit.
And I'm wondering, maybe being next to the wall, 2 feet from the wall, you know,
helps.
the radiation of the heat is also helping.
Right, right. Very good. Okay, so Steve, this is not the way everybody does it,
No.
but this is the way you're doing it, and I might add, Steve has been very, very successful at this. And what we've got here, it looks like this is your garbage pail, and we've got a number of them around the yard, but they're not here just for the beautification aspect. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I've got these about every 5-6 feet throughout the entire garden.
Okay.
And this is a 5-gallon bucket that you'll pick up from Home Depot or Lowe's for $2.50 around there. And what I've done is I've cut off the bottom and turn it over so there's a little more stability.
Okay.
And we fill it in with kitchen waste, peelings, bad fruit, again, anything from the kitchen. I just keep putting it in here, and it compresses over time with dehydration of the fruit.
Yeah.
But eventually, you know, it gets up to here, and what's going on is underneath the bucket. And I've never looked really closely, but I have to picture a lot of worm activity. Worms tunneling under there, grabbing a chunk of food, going off, and doing their casting. You know, letting off casting, which is fertilizer for the...
So you've got a worm garden here.
In a sense, yeah. And over time, these will be like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, because some areas are more tunneled, I guess you could say, and they start leaning. So I've got to right them up a little bit. But this is just a very simple composting
very easy way to do it.
Very simple.
Yeah.
You just, all I do now is I just take my peelings and garbage and just put it in here, all organic.
Now the amazing thing is, as close as I am, there's very little odor. There's a little bit of an odor, but it's really not at all disagreeable. It's just you know, it's just rotting fruit turning into mulch, turning into worm culture, turning into a perfect subsoil that all of these plants are now consuming and bringing out lots and lots of fruit.
And I very seldom, once in a while, I'll have an animal that gets in here and starts digging in here. So
Yeah.
I figure there must be something in there they like, but overall, no problems with the animals.
Amazing. Steve, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For today,
You're
for
welcome.
for being part of our ongoing quest to find out more about how to do things in the garden. This is wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So don't forget, like us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, and don't forget also on YouTube. And if you don't, I may be here forever. Ah.